Why do you think so many people are afraid of running ads?
I think that it's scary to think that you're potentially putting out $10 and you're getting $0 back, right? So I think it's that limited kind of frame of looking at what do I actually get for my dollar, right? And most people are thinking often, when I run ads, I should get an immediate return on my investment, right? And so when you also say, oh, you made 6 million online from ads were the entry point of a growth ecosystem, right? That kind of fueled it. But what you get from the ads is so much more than the immediate sales. You get a structured path for optimizing your growth journey. You know what's working. You can optimize alongside of it. And what you really want to look at it is, I'm getting data and I'm getting a roadmap for how I'm finding product to market fit. And that's the big overlooked opportunity. And I think that's why people freak out about ads, because they just have such a small perspective on what is the actual opportunity here. And it's not trading $1 for a sale. That comes after, right? When you have gone through the protocol of finding product to market fit, then you put $1 in, free come out, or even more, right? When we look at the longer time horizon, right, it compounds as well because you have the customer lifetime value. So when you take a step back, your return on your ad spend keeps increasing typically. But you need to have that perspective when you play that game. And it's, for me, has always been a better trade-off to say, I'm trading my money for data versus I'm trading my time for trying to please the algorithm and being so dependent on what that current stage is. So I think that organic is significantly harder than paid ads.
You said this morning in the mansion and it kind of like blew my mind. Like a lot of people are attracted to content and content is king and everyone needs to do content and content. It's like, what are your thoughts and your experience of content versus ads? So
content is extremely competitive, right? Especially if you want to do it good. I mean, there's two ways, right? We also see a lot of content that is like basically not FTC compliant. It's people like bragging, making income claims, etc. Yes, that gets you traction and eyeballs online, but it could also get you in trouble. And you're also selling a dream, which then when you do have an ethical program, right? People are coming in and it's like, I've been promised this. Now I'm kind of having bait and switch into what the heck, I actually need to work hard for it. So I think you're not doing yourself a favor. Like, yes, you can hack it, right? But then you're not doing yourself a favor as in the expectations you create, right? And also kind of long-term for your brand. I think it's problematic. And when you kind of try to play by the book and actually create value, etc., the algorithm might not reward you for that, right? So you're kind of in this pickle where you're almost forced to do like a little bit of between the lines, blurry things if you want to have that attention, right? And then when you have something figured out, algorithm can always flip on you. And I'm not saying that organic content is bad or anything, but often the person delivering the content is at the beginning and also too far away from actually being able to talk about proof and what they're working on. So the content that they can create at this point in time is inherently not so interesting, right? So when I was at the beginning of my journey, all I could say was like, well, I did e-commerce and now I'm trying to pivot to coaches, course creators. So there was no like interesting story. But as I was saying, okay, I'm now growing my audience. I'm getting my first clients on the back end of the ads that I would supply with bottom of funnel content, right? So it's not that I didn't create any organic content, but it was basically geared towards when now somebody comes from an ad and they double check my profile, at least one valuable post should be out there, like from the last week. But I could say much more specific things that mattered and that were all true. So they kind of closed that little trust gap from a person taking the action. So it allowed me to monetize a lot earlier. So I can share bottom of funnel from the inside out, just reporting what I do. Mm-hmm. And that kind of was ultimately the reverse organic growth that allowed me to mainly deliver content for my paid clients in my communities.
Yeah, because it's really interesting. The first time I ever came across you way back in February, first month of the school games, you were number 2 on the leaderboard in like the first a handful of days. I was like, who is this mom from Austria and what is she up to? What is she doing inside that community? And I checked your profiles and I was like, oh, she has a following, but not a massive multi-million such a big organic tribe. Yeah. And I was like, what's going on? Like, she says she's making all these hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. And it was only whenever I got inside your communities where I saw like all of your content, where you're actually delivering valuable stuff to people who want it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that point that you made on sometimes to make successful organic content, you have to make stuff that wouldn't be FTC approved in an ad.
Yeah.
I never thought about that before. And the extreme nature of organic pushes people to make certain types of content that they don't feel good about, that doesn't serve the audience. Whereas once people are already inside your community, then you can just like chill. It's like, here's the solution you need to your problem. I don't need to have a crazy 15-second hook. I don't need to have a ridiculous title or a thumbnail.
Yeah.
It's like, here's just the information that you want, and I'm able to give this to you. And I like how you rely on ads to basically send the traffic in there.
And I want to say that there is a nurture component to what I'm doing with the ads, right? So there's a top of funnel that I keep quite direct response. And then there's the bottom of funnel, which is like purely the sales campaigns that optimize for purchase conversion. But when I started, I actually used a free community, back then Facebook, because there was no school around. And so I did use Facebook lead generation campaigns where you have a form on Facebook, so you don't ever need to leave the platform. And you first collect the email address in exchange for a strategic freebie, right? So a free resource that filters the type of person you want to see as your potential client, right? So you kind of pre-filter that audience that you want to have, and you really start narrow, and it's kind of a good fit. It's as wide as possible while that person is like the perfect fit for what you have to offer right now.
Right.
And then on a thank you page, you send them to the community. So now you have the email address first, and then you also have a community members. You kind of double hit them with value comes to your inbox, and you also experience me in the community. Also, I think a thing that people underestimate is if you have a community and you have 100 people in there, you instantly have so much authority, right? This is a community owner with 100 people. When you have 100 Instagram followers, you basically are absolute nobody, right? So the authority that a community also gives you is like so much more significant. So I think that's also an overlooked opportunity where people are like not understanding how they're perceived when they first get in contact with someone on Instagram, right? Where everybody below $10,000 followers is basically non-existent.
Yeah.
More like a private profile. Versus when somebody comes in a community and it's 100 people in the community of that person, right? So the trust immediately gets supercharged. And then I also worked with like offers I sold on the front end to be able to get more people on my email list like a little bit quicker. So those were the things: getting people on my email list, getting people in my community. And first I had the free community, but I also then discovered that long-term, it's people convert like either right at the beginning because they come in and they're like, oh, wow, like this is basically what I was looking for. Or they convert when you do like a cleanup table event, like every 4 to 6 weeks, you do like a live stream where you make an offer at the end. And so I find that it's almost better to have a narrower community that focus almost like a challenge type transformation, and you clean that up like a little bit quicker. So that you don't have dwellers in a community. You can definitely have dwellers on an email list. Like I get people converting right now that subscribed in 2020. But in a community, very often it's not possible to re-engage the person the same way. So that's also something to consider. And then when I did make a lot of profitability, it was typically driven by my email marketing campaigns that I would then just run. So the first thing why it is actually a really, really good idea is when you are at the beginning of your journey and you're wearing all the hats in your business, right? Like Alex always says, 50% of your time goes towards promotion, if not 100% of your time if you don't have clients yet, right? And so you need to promote at the same time. You need to start creating transformations, case studies, work with people, work on yourself, right? Create all of that proof of concept. That also takes a lot of your time. And now when you're focused on creating content, it's a whole new skill set to learn. Like it's a massive skill set.
It's a full-time job.
I mean, you're competing against people like Alex or Mosey, right? So just to put it in perspective, it's a full-time job for you. And there are people that are so good. There are kids that are so good that grew up with this. Like I see 19-year-olds that eat me for breakfast when it comes to content, right? And It's just very, very competitive, and you need to put in so much time, and very often you need to play by the rules of the algorithm, and you need to say the most outrageous, polarizing, income claimy things that you can possibly do to stand out, see the right eyeballs, and get people from there. Then also, I see so many people that are in my community that ask me for my advice, and then I see their messaging and what they're saying to people. It's like, it's claims you can't make. It's things you can't say. It's like you're selling because you're being, it's borderline. It's more than unethical, I would say, right? So you have to be extremely aggressive often, right? Often that's the trend, the tendency that you see from a beginner, or somebody is just really, really passionate about the content and they are a creator and they build it up. But now here's the problem, right? Now I am a creator. That's who I have become. That's what I do. Well, now I'm trying to monetize that. Well, what's the transformation I offer? How do I get people result? I'm actually an expert in content creation. And this is why you see a lot of people that actually are very successful with content. They teach you about content creation because that's the thing they nailed. That's where they have put their heart in over the last 2 years, right? And there's only so many things that you can master as a person. Right?
That's also why you see so many people with 1 million followers who make no money.
They're
so broke.
Or, you have those people that have built up the following and the goodwill. Now they try to kind of reverse engineer an offer from like, what would people buy? And they even initially like have amazing sales, right? So you see them skyrocket in the school games, for example, as well. And then you see like the steep decline of the community, and eventually the community is not even there anymore. And you're like, why did this happen? Well, the people did not buy your offer. They bought you and they wanted to give back after years of consuming. But what you could create after years of focusing on creating content was not meeting your clients' needs.
Right.
And they want to be connected with you and they want to have access to you. But how much money are they really willing to pay every single month, especially if they can also consume you out there for free in the way that they are used to as well, right? So, and that's often when then the creator starts to change the offer. Also typically makes it more aggressive because everybody thinks like, oh yeah, that will sell, right? And then they find that, oh, now my content is actually not a good fit for my offer anymore. So I need to tweak my content to fuel my offer better. And then their audience is like, oh yeah, this person became a sellout.
Yes.
Right? So you kind of created this vicious cycle for yourself because you didn't...
Yeah, it's like a snake that eats its own tail.
Exactly. And you did not create a product to market fit product first and your personal brand around it. And this is why, although I am comparatively unknown, I've been able to monetize early and ethically and grow with my offer. My personal brand grew around my offer because I used the ads to find product to market fit first.
And this is so good. This is like unbelievable. Honestly, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I think it clears up so much misconception. Before you deliver the absolute value you're about to deliver, I just want to say, like, Andrew Kirby has an amazing banger.
Mm-hmm.
He says, you should always start with the offer first.
Yes.
And then make the content.
100%.
When you start with the content and then try to figure out the offer later, he calls it the hope technique.
Yes.
Where you're like, I'm going to get all these followers and hopefully I can find something to sell them. And what I'm hearing you say is ads allow you to test an offer really, 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 really fast. And you can spend a little bit of money. You can spend $100. You can spend whatever. I'm sure you'll tell us exactly how much. And you can find out very quickly, oh, dude, this offer sucks. And so you can save yourself 6 months making all this organic content on something that might not even make money. Yeah. Just wanted to underscore that, please. We're ready. Both hands are open to receive.
I just want to kind of highlight that I fully agree with Kirby. And I think that's like the big problem is like I built the audience first. Like a lot of TikTok creators fell into this because it was so easy to create the audience. Absolutely. It's like, I built the audience first and then I'll find a way.
I have 5 million.
Yeah.
I can't make 5K.
I know. And that's the problem, right? So the offer comes first. And I'm also like a big advocate for placing yourself where the money flows, right? So that's also a thing that I think more people kind of need to hear, that it's often they feel like I'm cursed, I can't sell this. You're probably operating kind of off market as well. And, look, for some people, the goal is I just want to have a community, right? And I'm okay if eventually I'll get to one point where I can substitute my income, scale my job back, right? Or I am already retired and I'm just doing this for fun. That's completely fine. But we have a lot of people that where the ambition is, I want to be more than full-time.
Yeah,
right?
we're talking about people who want to make money.
Yeah.
And they want to start businesses, and businesses exist to make money, not to make followers.
Exactly. And they then need to think about, okay, where can I position myself based on the skill set that I have, or what's already on demand? Where can I contribute a unique perspective? So when I came into this game, I had been running ads for e-commerce for years, right? Since it was possible in Austria. And e-commerce has a lot lower margins than high-ticket coaching. And so when I came to the US market, and I didn't know anyone. And so we used Upwork, right, to find clients, and we would apply. And the kind of sales strategy was to let them know, yeah, we can do an ad account review, and then we can propose the campaign structure, and we can show you where you're leaving money on the table. And so I wasn't even kind of aware of the coaching market at first, right? I knew Tony Robbins exists and everything like that, but I didn't understand it fully. But I saw that there were a lot of people looking for media buyers in that area. And so when I looked at their ad accounts, I was like, they're just blowing out money. Like my brain was not able to compute how wasteful their ads were. And I think that that's what gave me the edge when I came into that market. I was like, I know how to make this work with really small margins. Mm-hmm. So that's great for somebody who does not necessarily want to sell high ticket, which is a lot of people don't feel ready for it yet, or don't have the offer figured out yet, right? Which has been my journey for a very long time. But also for people who do have high ticket, it's like, why would you pay more? So that kind of came handy for me.
I have an offer for you. Would you like to spend more money or less money?
Yeah. And I mean, they were YOLOing it, and they also didn't know, right? So they were doing things like sending people to an opt-in page, and then on the thank you page, redirecting them to a Facebook group. So they paid $10 cost per group lead. And with my lead form method that I talked about before, I was getting them free $2.5 group leads, right? So, now you can have 4 times the amount of leads.
Yes, mom.
Right. And so that kind of, and that's what I'm saying is I found something that was in demand, and I kind of positioned myself well because of that unique perspective that I had. And that's what I would recommend for everyone. So how you get to your hypothesis now. There is a super aggressive, risky way, right? Which the big digital marketers will tell you is you're not a man if you don't dare to exclude all your warm audiences and spend $500 per CBO campaign with 5 ad sets and 10 creatives per ad set running the ads to your offer. You need to be willing to lose $10,000. Eventually, then you'll find what works, and then you scale that up, right? That's unreasonable to expect that the majority of people are willing to expose themselves to do that. And, unless you have seen the kind of returns that are possible from that, I wouldn't throw somebody in the water like this. And I'm also not throwing myself into the water like this. I've been doing it for clients that had the means and urgency to do that. But I'm also much more risk averse.
Sure. And most people, they get into this game because they want to make their first $10,000, not spend it.
Exactly. And for those people, I have a much more moderate approach, which was my approach as well. So when I started to run ads for myself for the first time, because I learned on other people's money, I was employed when I started to run ads. That was for a jewelry company. And then later on, I did it for all kinds of niches as Facebook ads were evolving. So I immediately came out with a different mindset. I have learned in a playful way. I can lose nothing way, right? I saw the insane returns that were possible in the beginning. So my mind was always on,
it wasn't your money.
It was not my money. And I was like, this is fun. It's incredible what's possible. This works. So I always kind of went in with that, this works. I know mindset. This works. Yeah.
Right.
So I had that conviction as well. But when I, for the first time, ran ads for my own personal brand, I was like, okay, this is actually scary. Now I get it, why people are so on the, you always get it and then you get it. And so I was making myself a budget, right? And I was saying, okay, my first goal is to create a flow into my budget where I can stop to supplement. So I was offering during that time to do websites on Fiverr. I did a full WordPress website for $150. But
high ticket.
But, at that time, I just wanted to, because I couldn't wrap my head around it, I was like, I need to earn that money for the ads and then I can put it into the ads. So I was like, first, I was just trying to justify cross-funding it. And I was like, okay, and then my first goal is I'm getting those one-to-one clients that pay me per hour. And then every hourly I put back into the ads, because otherwise I will never be able to detach my time from the money that I make. Right. So that was the whole idea, was to cross-fund in the beginning. And I had $500 from the website building that I was like, okay, I'm starting with $500. And then I'm trying to get the first clients with that, where I can then put the money back into ads.
Right. So you went out and you raised your ad budget by doing service-based work.
Yeah.
You got $500 together and then you started running ads. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, to be honest, at that point in time, I had a bigger payout from a project that I did before. And then I was a mom in that time at home. So for me, it was, and there was a part of the payout missing from a former partner. So it was unclear, will I have to enter a legal battle to get the payout? So I felt in financial scarcity like a lot. So for me, it was scary to put the $500 into ads. But I also, for example, if I would have worked a job at that point in time, it would have been easier for me to say, I know I'm getting guaranteed money from my job here. Like, what can I cut out that I can just put into the ads? So I'm building something up that will allow me to stop trading my time for money. So the first thing I recommend for everyone is thinking about, what is the first offer that I want to sell? And for most people, it will be hourly coaching, right? So I started with a free community, but the first money-making offer that I had was hourly coaching. And so I was like, okay, if I'm doing hourly coaching, I would want it to be something along the lines of building your personal brand with ads, right? And starting your ads. So I would create a strategic freebie that was a good fit for it. And it was a lead magnet creator template, because I was like, okay, everybody needs a lead magnet. I need a lead magnet right now. So let me just create a template from what I do. And you'll notice a lot about me. I'm creating a solution for myself. And then I'm like, let me test it. And if it works, I'm like, here's a template.
Nice.
So, just kind of keep monetizing what you figured out for yourself, the processes and systems that always served me really well.
So if you were to generalize this for a beginner, it's you would create something free that's valuable.
Yeah.
That helps your target market solve a problem in whatever the niche is.
I think the first step you need to do is write a sales pitch for what you ultimately want to sell. And for most of our listeners, it will be a paid community, right? So write your, in this case, video sales letter and about page. So you have the vision. And when you do this, you will also build in a customer-centric way, right? Because you are thinking from the right end, which is the front end of your funnel, is like, what does this need to look like to be marketable? That's the first step. The next step is, okay, now what filter would bring in the right type of person? So I'm looking at the strategic freebie as a filter. I'm like, what is somebody that needs what I have to offer? What's an entry point for them? So for example, my community helps you to learn ads, use email marketing to fill up your offers, right? So, okay, what do people need at the beginning of their journey? They very likely need, for example, a niche training, because they might be thinking of where they are. They very likely need a low-cost ad cheat sheet, right? So what is the kind of filter that I want to have? And it should be extremely easy to understand. So you would want to use a container name that everybody understands. Cheat sheet, planner, journal, affirmation card. So something where people are like, oh, I know what the product is. And then ideally you pair it with another word where people have a concept to that. So for example, people have a concept to what a niche is. People have a concept to what a Facebook ad is. They don't have a concept to what reverse organic is, right? So you would want to pair things where it's like people have a concept to the container name. People have a concept to the thing they're putting before the container name, right? And then you have your freebie. It should not take you more than half an hour to create the content. If it's more, you're overcomplicating it, right? Because when then people open your email, 50% will open, 25% will click to your freebie. That doesn't mean you should make trash, but you should keep it consumable.
Right.
That's the key. Then you mock up that consumable. You can also print it out, hold it in a camera, right? So whatever comes easiest for you to make it tangible. And then you have short copy, right? Again, if you need more than 3 sentences to explain what it is and why people need to get it, your idea was not simple and attractive enough to be a real winning strategic freebie.
Right.
So that's what we want to keep in mind. Then we're going to select a lead generation campaign. We're going to go for tier 1 countries. So in Facebook ads, you have countries tiered by purchasing power. And so because you want to have reliable benchmarks, you would want to go with tier 1 countries in one ad set you wouldn't want to mix. And then I like to go United States, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom in one ad set. And then you use a lead generation campaign, the on Facebook form. And then on the thank you page, you can redirect people, for example, to your free community.
Mm-hmm.
Then you integrate it with Zapier, Pabbly, Make, and then you deliver the freebie. And then you have a welcome email. I call it the Everything I Do email, where you introduce your person to everything that you do, right? And then you hit people. I used to have like multiple day onboarding sequences. Now I'm just using a really simple process with Loom, and you can use ChatGPT or Claude, where I'm talking out what I'm working on today and the thoughts that I'm having around it as they're helpful for my clients. I strip the transcript, I put it into ChatGPT or Loom and say, hey, turn my thoughts into a highly valuable nurture email. And within 10 minutes, I have a highly valuable email that I can send to my list. The value posts that Alex highlights in the school games, this is how I'm creating so many of them, by the way. So I'm just taking my real, genuine experience that I'm having. And this is also something I think more people need to understand. What you're selling is your experience, right? Because when you are conceptualizing and distilling your experience down, people can have the essence of that experience without having the time and energy of going through the experience, right? And this is how you actually create value for people it's called like, you know, how you a computer file when it's really large and then
compress it.
You compress it. It's like you have your experience and you compress it for people. So now they can consume it and now they have benefited from you having made that experience.
Right.
So that's the email portion.
So,
and yeah.
Should I recap now or should I recap after the next point?
There's a couple more pieces that go into it.
Let's do it.
So in the emails, you always want to say, hey, you know, if you need help with this, book a free call, no strings attached. You help the person genuinely. And all you ask after is, if this was helpful, can I have a testimonial? Then you start to have the testimonial flywheel. Now you post on your page. Now you post in your emails. It's like, hey, I helped this person. If you want help, book your call here. And eventually, when you then follow up with the person, we were like, hey, you know, how is it going? Have you been able to implement? They will say, yeah, it was great. I have another question. Can I actually book a session with you? And that's how I got my paid clients, right? So there was no hardcore selling or anything involved.
Boom.
And then you have those testimonials. You put them on your page. People like it because they're like, oh, you're awesome. You helped this person. And then you put the ad dollars behind that proof, right? And that's when you, for the first time, run an ad that is more bottom of funnel, where it goes to a book a call, a messenger conversation, or even your community. So right now, all bottom of funnel sales ads that I'm running for my community are in one way or the other proof driven, which is also something that I doubled and tripled down on now after the conversation with Alex.
Crazy.